Okay, we're on week 3 of Sukh in Dukh. What I'm going to do is just briefly go over what we did week 2, which so when we did Pankti, pe acharj teri kudrat tere kadma salah Ganeeb teri sift sache Padshah. What does that shabd mean to you now? What does that shabd mean? When you look at the sky, what do you see? Tare. What do we see? Maharaji Kudrat Acharya na. It's unfathomable. Maharaj ne kita. Even our body is, na. But what we're going to do is, so what is your worldview? We covered that last week. What do we see in the world? ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇਖੀ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਕਾਇਨਾਤ everything, all the words we use, what do we see? We covered some of that. What Guruji says about the universe. Think about what you see in this world. So when you look, when you see the dharti, what do you see dharti as? Hello. What's the dharti now? What is it? Dharti ਕਿਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆ? ਸਾਧਾਂ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਆ ਇਹ. This dharti, Guru made it for sadh, bhagdi lai aaye. It's not for making big skyscrapers and stuff. Wo ta theek hai na. And what is the planet? The planets for that. And we look at this Chardi Kala versus sadness example from our history. Sikh Chardi Kala sige te ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਥੋੜੇ ਸੀ. Sikh were in Chardi Kala, but they were they're probably never going to see their family again. Sikh were in Chardi Kala. ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਖਾਣਾ ਪੀਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਖਾਸ. ਸਿੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਠੰਡੇ ਪਾਣੀਆਂ 'ਚ in the ਦਰਿਆ ਵਿੱਚ, in the rivers. But in our dunya here we got everything. ਸੋਨੇ ਘਰ ਮਿਲ ਗਏ, ਖਾਣਾ ਵੀ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ, family ਵੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, everything. But the people in this dunya are depressed. But the Singhs ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਤਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਸੀਗੇ. So we discussed that a little bit. We can discuss it a little bit more today. But making pain into positives, we've been doing that every week. Dukh nu sukh banauna. It's all about our sochni. Now today you're going to need a bit of concentration because this we're talking about neuro-linguistic programming, because this is about dukh and sukh. And when sometimes your dukh goes too much, therapy karni pendi hai. You have to have therapy. So this one system I went through, had a look at it, neuro-linguistic programming. It's had some interesting things in it. So Gurbani di replacement nahi hundi kisi cheez di, when we see these things. So what happens is sometimes individuals, they do things like mindfulness, they do mindfulness. You've heard of mindfulness? For mindfulness nu kande simran hai. Mindfulness is not simran. Or mindfulness nu kande simran. You learn about neuro-linguistic programming today, you think, oh, that's Sikhi, that's Maya's representing. Edda nahi hai. These systems, jo Gurbani keh rahi hai, is very different gal. I'm going to just touch on it very briefly. Why is mindfulness not Simran? Do you know? Can anyone give me a good answer? Why is mindfulness Simran nahi hai mindfulness? For children who are distracted easily, for when we have problems, we say we need to stay calm and do mindfulness. Why is that not Simran? What's the difference? Hanji Bhaji. So Waheguru bachan nahi hai ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. So if I say mindfulness, mera mane breathe, start breathing a bit slowly, be mindful of my breathing, it's Simran nahi haga. Do you understand that? That's not Simran. If you say concentrate on your body, make sure you concentrate on your feet, then your legs, then your knees, then your arms, and more, it's Simran nahi haga. When you say let's do mantra jap, mantra jap, mantra jap Simran nahi haga. If you just take a mantra and say happy, 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 a mantra, you can make anything a mantra. What's the difference between a mantra and a Gur mantra? Do we know? ਗੁਰਮੰਤਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਫਰਕ ਆ in the mantra meditation? ਗੁਰਮੰਤਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਫਰਕ ਆ? These are important things to sikhya. We should know little. I'm not saying my answer is correct, but we should be going towards the right lines. Gurmantar kiya. Gurmantar de, under Gurmantar there's Updesh. Jede India da system sega, when India de vich jado mantar deta janda sega, ode naal Updesh hunda sega. Updesh da matlab hai instruction, method. You have to have method with the job. If you're just doing job, कोई method नहीं मिलिया थानू, वो तो like वो करी जो जिन्ना मर्जी है ना, रब तो नहीं मिलना है ना. It has to have उपदेश with it. Then it becomes Gurmantar. Oh, जे तो गुरु दा उपदेश होंदा ना. When it's Guru's उपदेश is with it, then it becomes the Gurmantar. Gurmantar da उपदेश. हुन गुरबाणी नू कहना नानक ए मंत्र जो कमावे नानक ने गुरबाणी कह रही है. Guru called the whole Bani mantra as well. Gurmantar. So if the mantra that you're japping doesn't have Gurbani, the essence in it, oh Gurmantar nahi hai. Oh de mantra tusi japde ha. That's why it's important. Sadi Sikhi de vich Guru Sahib ne Charan Paul ditta si Sikhan nu first. He did Charan Paul, Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Then Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, "Je panj Sikh denge hona." Panja Sikhan ne dena aya. Fir panj Sikh can't just say to you, "Okay, here you go. Say why Guru, off you go now. Thank you very much." Na niradriya. Panj Sikh has to tell you some Updesh first. But tusi Updesh kitthon lena aya? When that Updesh is with the mantra, fir Gur mantra banda. And Panj Singh don't tell you all the Updesh. They don't tell you all the instructions. When I say Updesh, sorry, I'm using words, sometimes people won't understand what the word is. The Panj Singh, when you go to them, can't give you all the Updesh in 45 minutes. What they do is they say to you, where are you going to get it from? Oh, Gurbani na jod deya. And when you got Gurbani and you do the job with Gurbani, feel Gurmantar fe bandaya. So this doesn't replace Sikhi. So neuro-linguistic programming, matlaba, neuro means what goes on in your mind. Linguistic is what you speak. Programming is what you do. That's what NLP, that's what it stands for. No? It's a system by how we store our information. So it's a psychological approach that explores the connection between neurological processes. So that's language and behavior. So neurological processes, what's going on in our mind. What's going on in our mind. What language we're speaking. Then our behavior that comes out of that. That's what NLP is. Isn't it? And it's aiming to change the patterns of thought and behavior to achieve specific goals. So there's various techniques of reframing, anchoring. We're not going to do that. This is not an NLP course. This thing is just trying to show you that how they use some methods, but how Gurbani starts talking about those things. That's what today's thing is about. We need to have some tawajjuh dena. We have to have some concentration a little bit. So here, have you ever thought what your thoughts are? Have you ever thought about your thoughts? Metacognition. Have you ever thought about your thoughts? You must have, right? So, what are these thoughts? Why are they there? So what do your thoughts look like? What do your thoughts look like? I'm not asking you what your thought is. I'm saying, like, what do your thoughts look like? What do they look like? If you described them, what do your thoughts look like? Ideas? Oh, some ideas. That's good. What does the idea look like? How does it present itself?
Sometimes you're actually playing a scenario out in your head that you're planning.
And what does the scenario look like? I was saying look, that's the wrong word, to be honest, because I'm driving you down one way. But so some people's is visual, pictures, yeah. They have movies going on in their head. Some people's is auditory, they have sounds, So everybody's got a primary one. So the primary one. You know when you go to school, the learning is different now. The learning is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, And visual the matlaba, if they see something, they'll remember it and they'll do it. Another jnana, I'll say jnana, I say human beings, some people hear better. So when they hear it, if they hear it, it goes in better. Some people have to do it, or they have to have an emotion. It has to be emotional connection. And if it's not emotional or physical connection, they don't learn like that. So there's been changes even in the education system to adapt to those three things. But there's more. Huh? So some people think in pictures and images. It's really important for you, by the way, this lesson is. It could change how you do your life stuff. But auditory, others may recall experience of vividly through sounds, such as voices, music, environmental noises. For them, a conversation or sound could be more dominant represented. Have you ever spoke to someone and said, "Oh, remember when you said that? Remember when you said that to me? That stuck with me here." That person's a bit more auditory. Then kinesthetic is sensations. People store their experiences in terms of physical sensations or emotions about how they felt, e.g. feeling nervous, excited, relaxed. That thing made me feel scared. Something might make you feel scared, or something might make you feel. So some people are storing it like that. Other people are storing it, it's olfactory and gustatory, that smell and taste. Now, while these senses are they're less common, but we do store taste and smell as well. Can you think of anything where, we deal with addicts, sharab di shikayat or addicted, but sometimes the smell of a pub, the smell, that's in their brain. That's part of their system, stored. When they smell that again, something triggers, So the point is, everybody stores information differently, and it's clear. Look, we haven't thought about that much, and that's why I found it interesting. Just when I studied a little bit, I find it interesting about how do we store our life, So we talked about worldview yesterday. What does that mean? When I said to you, what does worldview for you today? What does it mean now? It depends, It depends how you stored that information. So positive versus negative representation. So we're going to talk about Dukh, Sukh, This is the whole point of these lectures is about Dukh, Sukh. Sometimes when it's stored positively, and sometimes when it's stored negatively. Now, I'll give you a really simple example of negative, because positive we probably understand. You go on holiday or something, and you say, and great, it's stored positively, however it's stored. Whereas negatively, if someone said something to you and they made you angry, someone cut you off on the road, someone that you start saying that road over there is like this, or the people down there are like that. So the way a person mentally represents an event or experience can strongly influence whether they experience positive emotions like happiness, excitement or joy, or negative emotions like sadness, anger or fear. So that's important, obviously, for the topic that we're on about. These mental representations involve the submodalities. So this word keeps coming up, submodalities. So in NLP, the modality is the senses, and the submodality is how I store those senses. Okay, so I don't want to do a science lesson with you guys, because it all ends up as a science lesson. But it's how you store it. How do you store smell? How do you know that's things? I don't eat onions, by the way, and I can't stand the smell of onions. But I know what onions smell like. They're the devil. They're the work of the devil. And so, but that's stored somewhere, That's stored. So, anger, fear, whatever. These mental representations involve the submodalities, so that's how I store it, of their primary representative system. So it's visual, or the VAKOG thing we talked about. So we have to store that somehow. Otherwise, we're not human beings. We have to store what we see, and then we use that information. That's how we make our decisions. That's how we think. That's how we get angry. That's why we get fearful. That's how we do things because they're important. That's why we ignore things because they're not important. We stored it. We've stored it, So essentially, the quality and structure of these internal images, sounds, and sensations a person associates with an experience will colour their emotional response. So how you store it is going to make you positive or negative about that thing. It's how you've stored it. So some people, couple of times, we've used an example of some people who have got resentment towards their parents, let's say. Now, they've stored their parent internally. They've stored them. And how they've stored them. So if someone has to go through therapy, what we have to unpack is how they stored that information and how are they thinking. Now, this is all related to our psyche. It's all very much related to us, what's Guruji? You know, we do this enlightenment course and we ask this question, what's Guruji to you? And then everyone starts scratching their head going, you know? Guruji ki, what is that Shakti? What is it? What is that power? How do you store it? What have you stored? How you store it is what becomes of your life in terms of a Sikh. You know how you stored Waheguru in your brain? How we've stored Waheguru in here? That's what Waheguru is to us. In Gurbani says it too, मैंने पंक्ति च चेता नहीं, Guru says जिद्दां दा जिस तरह तुसी सतगुरु नूं जाणदे सतगुरु ओह आ तुहाडे लई. That's what it is. How we accept Waheguru, that's what. So we make Waheguru into this small thing. You know, we were talking last week. Guruji's making Waheguru's making galaxies, is making a massive, massive, massive universe over and over, kills it. Maharaj khich lende fe baar nu tu appe sirshta sab sirjiya appe fun goi. Guruji kende Maharaj makes it fe khich lende a. It's Maharaj khushi a. And he's making, but we made Waheguru this small thing, that Waheguru looks after my little Dukh Sukh that I got over here. But Waheguru bahut badi cheez a. It's a huge. So it's how we've represented Waheguru inside. So it's really, really important that we try to understand that you know, we might have represented Waheguru in a strange way, you know, based on how we've grown up, based on how we've been taught Sikhi, based on our life experiences, etc. You know? So the other thing that we do on top of that, so don't worry, it's all a bit technical, yeah, I'm going to try and simplify it in a minute, but you've got to just understand it a bit technically first. No? So what we then do is we distort those things, delete certain things out of it, and generalize from that. So we might store something and just say, I hate, like let's say someone's racist, I just hate black people. And there's a lot of deletion that's gone on there, some distortion, all sorts of things. But why? You know? If I ask that question, why? There's loads. Why is it stored like that? And that's what you have to undo. If I asked a person, let's say some people, you're going to have this with your children. You're going to ask your children in today's modern society. You can say, "Do you believe in God?" And they're going to say no. Hai na? Some of your children are going to say no. Asi Rab nu mande nahi hai. And why? Why? Is because of how we've represented the world internally. So this is so important about how you hold that information that makes you what you are as a person, how you do your Sikhi, how are you going to get saved from this place, you know? How are we going to get saved, you know? So NLP suggests that we can distort, delete and generalize these submodalities, how we store it. I'll keep writing how we store it in brackets so you don't forget what that is. To change how we experience things in our mind, and by doing so we can change our emotional responses and behaviours. This process is a key part of how NLP is used to help individuals shift their mindset, overcome negative emotions and achieve goals. You know? So, you know, when we've gone through all of this, you can actually change it. You don't need a therapist to change it, by the way. You know, it's only if it's a deep-seated problem, then sometimes you might need professional help. But generally, you could change anything. And we'll go over that in a minute. You can change anything, how you store it, and what you've got inside. But how I see this world. So here, I'm trying to summarize it in bit simpler language, you know. So I store things in my mind. Depending on how I think, I might store it as an image or a video. I say video, double quotes, not video, obviously. But, you know, in visual terms, as sounds, as emotions, stroke feelings, as smells, or as tastes. One of these systems will be the primary one that I use, but I could use all of them. So to store something, you could use all of them. You know, we might have in our thing, when we smell langar, when we talk about Gurdwara, we smell langar internally, you know. That might be how we've stored what the Gurdwara is, you know. So the way I represent these in my mind and memory will make them positive, negative, or maybe neutral or something in between, you know. And when I store this information, I might distort it, delete it, or generalize the information. So that's kind of very, very high level, some of the things NLP is doing. There's other bits to it, but when you start, how you store it is how you speak. You know, when you're speaking, we've never really thought, you know, these words that I'm using, why am I using these words and what do the words mean? So often, you know, if you're hearing someone who's got pain, they're saying words and you've got to go beyond the words. So one person might say to you, I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to get better. Now that's a belief system that they've got internally. That's been built from their experience of life, how they're thinking, And as we said, that's limited thinking, that I'm never going to get better. But why? Why do you say that you're not going to get better? So there's all sorts of things underneath that you unpack because of the way things are stored. So when we look at it, I'm going to try and simplify this. If I might say, I just don't get on with my brother, let's say. I don't get on with my brother, and it's because he's just a bad person. Now, I've said some really, really significant things in that sentence. I'm not on about my real brother, by the way, just in case this goes out somewhere. He's a really bad person. Now, what does that mean? First, what does bad mean? What does really bad mean? Don't like. What does like mean to you? If you like somebody, what does that mean? And we were doing all this stuff in our life. As sara kuch kari jande, we're doing it. We never done vichar. How do I think? Why am I thinking like this? We've not done anything like that. You know what Guru's doing? Guruji sade ye sochni hai, he just kills it all off. Guruji kills it. He says, what you manamok ki boli janda tu? That's what Guru's saying. You're a murak. Because you're a murak, Guru's saying. Ye jera sochni hai, manamate ya, Guruji says. No uncertain terms as well. It says, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the Gurpurab si, Guru says, Manre, kaun ko mat tai lini. Kitho le liya mate hai? Where did you get that thinking from? And Guru saying, it says to us, say it to your mind. He's saying, say it to your mind, tu mat kitho le liya hai? Pe pardara, nindya, ras rachyo, Ram Bhagat ne kini. कहते जिन्ने पाप है दुनिया विच, पराई स्त्री दे, निंदिया, slandering people. He goes, एक करी जाना, he goes, Ram Bhagat bhagati नहीं कीती Ram दी. Because you don't know Simran. You done nothing. But he says, where did you get that knowledge from? Where do you get that sochni from? Kitthon liya? And this is what we have to, as a Sikh. When you do Sikhi, बहुत simplified Sikhi hundi hai na, pag ban la, daadi rakh la, and tu nitnem kan la pa, go to Gurdwara for a bit, बहुत बढ़िया. That's theek, isn't it? And not theek hai, बढ़िया hai. So someone might stop doing certain things and do that. That's not Sikhi, na. This Sikhi nahi hai. That's like very, 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 very high level stuff. So what Guru's saying to us is, bande khoj dil har roj. What does that mean? He says, your dil, jehda dil hai, andarla hirdaya, unu khoj unu properly. He said, have a look at it. What's inside? What's going on there? So I want you to just have a look at these for a minute. To understand how you might, which system you might use a bit more than another, is sometimes in your language, Jida si bolde hain. You've heard these phrases, visual. Oh, I see. If someone says something to you, you say, I see. But what are you seeing? There's a guy speaking to you, But that's because the person's visual. Or they might say, yeah, it seems a bit hazy, that is, what you're saying. Or it's a bright idea. But it says, it's not clear. It's not clear. Clear is sight, So I can picture it in my mind. I can see that happening. It's all a blur to me. These are kind of language that person who's very visual will use, It's useful if you're married as well. You might find a little bit about what your partner does, how they think a little bit, And auditory, oh, that rings a bell. If someone says that a lot, oh, that rings a bell, what you're saying, that means that talk generally with sound, Or they might say, it doesn't sound right. That don't sound right. Or that sounds great. It's music to my ears. Those kind of, that's auditory language, Then kinesthetic, I feel it. I can feel it. Yeah, I can feel it. We're going to get there. Feel what? Or get a grip. We need to get a grip of this problem. That's like kinesthetic. That's like hands-on, kind of. Or that feels right. I feel excited. I'm weighed down by this. I'm uncomfortable with this, etc. But smell, is less used. But like a person says, I smell a rat here. When you hear a story and you think, oh, there's a bit dodgy stuff going on here. I smell a rat. That's like... from senses of smell, But it's like a breath of fresh air or breeze of fresh air. I can savour the moment. It's like a bad smell I can't escape from. And then tasting, I experience it. It's mouth-watering, etc. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But anyway, depending on how you kind of use language, might be the way you think. That doesn't necessarily mean that, but it might be an indication. But that's more for like someone who's doing therapy as well, that you can understand that person thinks a bit more One thing I want to ask you, when you think about your future and your past, how do how do you visualize that, your future and your past? How do you think about your future and your past? Anybody? Visually, yeah. Where are the pictures? Where are the past ones? Where are the past pictures? And what I mean is, are they at the back? Are they on the left? They're on the back, huh? So this is interesting. So some people, I don't think of past and future like this. That's my past, and that's my future, huh? I think of past and future like this. From here, my past is over here, and my future's over there. So someone like me, I'll think in chapters, whereas someone like yourself will think in steps. You'll think, those steps are gone, I've got steps forward. Do you know what I mean? It's just interesting. It's interesting to know that. That's about yourself, is that you look at it in steps. And that's probably more common. I'm probably a weirdo in it, thinking chapters or something like that. But if I look at life, it'd be like my 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then it's 60, 70, 80, 90, like that. I look at it like that way, you know. So that's interesting about how you look at your life. What life have you got left? How are you thinking about it? You know, you're thinking forward. Think for so you might use language like looking forward. So like I might say my next steps are that way, but you'll be looking forward. So it's good. But this is what I want you to do, just so you understand it a little bit, because my lecture book too much bully, and so I want you to think about. Do it from when you're younger. I don't want you to bring up any emotional thoughts here now about your current situation. No? But when you were younger, I want you to think about someone you liked or was your friend. Just do that. Have a think now. I want you to tell me what you see or what you hear, what you feel. You don't need to all tell me, but if somebody someone who you did like, what do you see? When you say, yeah, I like that person, what is it? You might need to close your eyes, but think about it. Someone you got on with. And then once you've done that, I want you to think about somebody you didn't get along with, and tell me what it is. Because we don't have loads of time, did anyone find anything different, or did they seem both the same? What did you see? What was different? Was there anything different? Or you couldn't remember them? Sorry.
So I think in the first one, so come back to the person, but also the environment.
Yeah.
And the colours are more visual anyway. They're just the tones, the colours are different.
Yeah.
Whereas the second one is just focused on the person itself.
Okay. Yeah.
More graceful.
That's good. Yeah. Anyone else feel anything like different between the two things? This is your brain, guys. It's nothing to do with me. You know, did you feel anything different? Did you not? If you didn't feel anything, it's all right. Did you not feel anything different? Difference in temperature. Great. You see, it's just kinesthetic, huh? Anything else?
Calm and anger.
Calm and anger. So the emotional. You see how it's connected. It's like there's things are connected, and you can. I'll give you another thing. Look, when we do the Seek Recovery Network thing, this is a question we ask. Is think about your addiction, and when you have been gripped by it, and they think for about 1 minute, they say, like, think about a life that you ain't got that there. And you know the difference. This I can only say it's more the visual people. It's a bit like Kampaj was saying that. The people when they look at their addiction, it's black and white. That's happened across. When we've done it multiple times, the majority of people, it's a black and white picture when they see addiction, and it's a colour picture with clouds and blue sky when they look at life without it. So their brain's telling them they're doing something wrong, The brain's telling them, and so remember, this is pseudoscience. This is nothing majorly massive experience been done like this. But you got to be more sensitive about your feelings, about what's going on inside, how you represent things. When you think about that, what happens then is this. So happiness, When a person represents an experience in a positive way, it's normally bright, clear images, pleasant sounds, comfortable sensations. They tend to feel positive emotions like happiness, excitement, or calm. These representations are often associated with pleasurable experiences, positive memories, and uplifting thoughts. The intensity, vividness, and closeness of the representations usually amplify positive emotions. So normally when you see something happy, like you think about your wedding day, it was all right that day. It all went bad after that. But your wedding day, you might think, badi khushi di gall hai, sukh anand pair, and all that kind of stuff. But you might think like you might have lost someone in your life, you know? When you think about that day is dull, you know? That day is you might not get positive feelings out of that, and that's like this. So that's, for instance, a person might think of a cherished holiday, and their mental images might be bright and close. Their auditory recall might include laughter or happy conversations. So this is, I think, like when you look at Gurbani, some interesting things start coming out. So this is how you look at happiness. We look at happiness through brightness, vividness, nice sounds, people being nice to us, etc., which is logical. Nothing wrong with that. No? But when you look at sadness, someone represents an experience in a negative way. It's dim. It might be distant. You might see it in a distance. It might not clear. It's not right here. It's so far. It might be blurry. It might be harsh, critical sounds, uncomfortable sensations, and they may feel emotion like sadness, fear. So these submodalities, in other words, how you've stored it, of these representations are typically linked to negative traumatic experiences, losses, or unfulfilled desires. So, for example, a person recalling a sad memory might see a dim, faraway image of a loved one they lost, hear a soft, sorrowful voice in their mind, and feel heaviness in their chest, and these are submodalities. That's how they've stored it, and that contributes to sadness. So this is interesting. It's just an interesting way of thinking about how we store information, because the thing about NLP is these are like visual people. Visual people associate positive experiences with bright, colourful images, large close-up images in their mind. Mind may feel energized, etc. Negative representation for a visual person is that they have a mental image that's dark, blurry, distant, overwhelming, and it can create feelings of sadness, anxiety, fear. When you see dull weather, what do you feel? When you see like cloudy day, me bandaya, what do you feel? I love it, man. I love it. I'll go on the bike sometimes on a dull day. I love it, So when you put greyness with sadness, then you're already in a bad place. When did Waheguru say greyness is bad? When did Waheguru say grey is bad? Gurdwara is quite grey actually. When did Guruji say grey is bad? Grey is not bad. When did Guruji say cloud is bad? But you know what we've grown up with? Oh, it's a dull day today and it might rain. What's wrong with rain? Have you ever walked in the rain and got wet? Don't matter. It's beautiful. ਮੀਂਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਸ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟੀ ਹਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਮੀਂਹ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਾਨਵਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ and the little insects and all that ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਣੀ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਆ and we look at it and say please don't rain God, don't care if you kill about 55,000 insects, but don't rain today, just I don't want to get my turban get wet. You know what I mean? Because we've associated those things with bad. It's not really bad. Manuk Singh milya sakha, Singh, he's wearing rose rose scent. Now, if you smelled him, you say, well, there's a bit of an issue here, huh? But there's no issue there. Why is rose associated with women? Women, rose can be men's smell as well, huh? And even a masculine smell. Like Dubai, what I like about those scents, they say both can wear it. They don't care. It's like our names, huh? Sadi Sikhi de vich, what's my Hapikan Jaswinder? Is Jaswinder a man's name or a woman's name? Is it a man's name or a woman's name? Either. Is Tarsem a man's name or a woman's name? There's been Bibia called Tarsem Kaur, right? And which name is like that? So now we started making these little Sharon Kaur, innit? Make them a bit feminine, innit? Why can't it be Sharon Singh? Innit? Because Western sochni hai, saadi sochni nahi hai Sikhi di. If you look at it, Davinder, is Davinder a man's name or a woman's name? It's not, it's either. So Sikhi de vich oh Atma nu na dinde si asi. Now we're giving it to a boy and a girl and make it a bit like funky and all that stuff, innit? So that's a visual person. Sorry, I don't know why I went on about that one. So auditory, they do the similar thing with sounds, uplifting sounds. So that's why, if you look at Gurbani, what's Guru told us, what's the majority of our Sikhi, if you think about it? Majority sunna na. ਪਾਠ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕੀਰਤਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਬਚਨ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Lot of Sikhs is listening. It's about listening. And what these systems is to develop this weak one. Can you develop your weak system? You're a weak system, make it stronger. Make it so that you listen better. You can actually do that. If you concentrate a bit, you can listen better. Huh? And negative is critical voices, harsh tones and all that. You know when we're raising children, if you shout too much at a nyana, you do too much, they don't like confrontation then. They get very upset. They become timid. Because they've got a representation of what all you're shouting. They've got representation inside. They've stored it. So there's people who auditory, I'm not going to go over this, kinesthetic, there's people who associate positive with pleasant physical sensations. So some people are very emotional, aren't they? So they store it emotionally. And to be honest, Gurbani is very much emotional. Gurbani talks very much about emotionally storing stuff. So people who store like that is badiya. It's just because visually it might be most popular, but jere emotionally store karni, especially Gurbani, Guru da bachan. If you think of how Guru always says it bachan na hirde ch kidda vas hona, how are you going to hold it in? Guru talks about bahut pyar karna paina ode na, darna paina ya Guru to. It's all emotional about how you store it. And negative emotions are uncomfortable feelings, tightness, heaviness, discomfort. So just understanding how do you process your pain, and how does it feel? Sometimes it might be smell and it might be taste, those kind of things. But so let's have a break for a minute. Wait there. So everyone, just let's have a little, in study life the which. Let's think about it. What have we seen? What have we heard? And what have we said? Have you ever thought about that? Apne sari life de vich, what have we seen? What have we heard? And what have we said? Now I want you to think about those things for a minute, because that's a lot of information. We're not going to do that in 1 minute. But you want to think about that. How much of that is going to be worthwhile for us? How much of that can we take with us? What we've seen, what we've heard, and what we've said. How much of that can we take with us? What do you guys think? How much is going to go with us? So that time's going past, the time's going past, and what we're doing, we'll watch this, or we'll say this, or we'll go and listen to this, or then we'll walk over there and we'll do this and we'll do that. Oh, naal kinna ku jana hai sade? How much? How much will it be? And that's an important part for us now. We've stored it all. Andar beh gaya sara kuch. We've got images, we've got sounds, we've got feelings, emotions, we've got smells, we've got tastes. Oh sara ete ras sharir ke. Guruji kehande enne sharir de ras ya. The sharir's got so many flavors that it wants. Naam nivas nahi hunda. It doesn't stay. Naam da nivasa nahi hunda inside of it, because it's got so many of these problems. It's stored loads of information in ways that it's not useful to us. So here, this was just shifting our representation. You could shift things, So somebody you didn't like. Did you? The person you don't like. The way when the person you do like. You could put that same, the way NLP works, one of the methods, there's 200 methods, different, you can research it yourself. One of the methods is, the person you like, the colours and stuff you see about them, you put it on the person you don't like, and you see them in those colours. And what that does is it makes you lose your enmity a little bit. You stop hating them that much. It's because it's stored like that, So it's just, they're just interesting things that you can do. You can make if you've got an image that's hurting you, you can make it small. Have you ever heard that thing where they say you got a problem, put it in a box, shut the lid, and make it fly away, then the problem's gone, That's an NLP style type of thing, where you just visualize something and it's gone. But these are things. So remember, this isn't an NLP class. I just wanted to go over NLP a little bit so that you understand how they're using these systems. Now we're going to talk about Gurbani in a minute after this. So dimming the brightness of the mental image, making the auditory sound softer. So if something bothering you, like someone's shouted at you and you hate them now, you hate them because the last time all you remember about them is how they shouted at you. You can change that. You could just go over that in your brain and say, make it softer. And now all of a sudden the gussa chale janda, it goes softer, it goes less, and changing the physical sensation by imagining a more comfortable, relaxing feeling. For happiness, make the image brighter and larger, make the image closer, and make it feel more immediate and vivid, add more positive sounds and words. So you can actually manipulate it. The point was of the NLP, so if you can manipulate it. Now I see manipulate picture naal nahi karna. I see manipulate karna Gurbani naal. You understand that, hai? We're the Gurdwara now, so we're going to manipulate it through Gurbani. I want you to think about this. A person who you've thought about, who you don't like, now Guruji's ek bachan dena, Maharaj ne thonu. Now yo Gur Sikh, tusi sare Sikh hain, tusi Guru da bachan manana hai. So Guruji says, par ka bura na rakho cheet, tumko dukh nahi Bhai meet. Guruji says, kisi da who you hate, who didn't like that much, oda mara nahi rakhna inside. Guru saying. Now I want you to look at that person again with Guru's bachan. I want you to look at my Guru's bachan, Guru saying, Mada ni kehna onu, Mada rakhana ni man vich, that they're bad. I'm not going to do it. Because mere Guru ne barje aaya mainu. That's how you got to think, hai na? Now this is how Guru's bachan changes your representation system. It changes it. The next week what we're going to go over is your speech, because that's really important. I would advise you not to miss that one too much. Jada speech da hai, how we talk, it's all inside of these systems. And how, we say tu main, tusi main, and all that. How you can change that, about what that means is interesting. But this you could change however you want in terms of how you represent things, and your dukkha can go away. The person who's causing you problems is sitting here actually it's sitting up here. Someone who's causing you problems is sitting up there really. You can change that, what that is, how it's stored, So, I want you to look at this shabd. This shabd moti ta mandar usra, ratni ta hoye jada. This shabd is the first shabd that comes after Japji Sahib, so dar, so pork, soila. Then Siri Rag da Maharaj Bani start hundi hai. Utthe the pehla shabd eh a. Siri Rag de vich. It's moti ta mandar usra, ratni ta hoye jadao, कस्तूर कुंगू अगर चंदन लीप आवे चाओ मत देख भूला वीसरे तेरा चित ना आवे नाओ. Now Guru says हर बिन जियो जल बल जाओ मैं अपना गुर पूछ देखया अवर ना ही थाओ. Now what Guru's saying is, look at this. He says, if I had a palace made of pearls inlaid with jewels, if the floor of my palace was adorned with diamonds, rubies, and my bed was covered with rubies, scented with musk, toof, hutilaga, saffron and sandalwood, and a sheer delight to behold. Guruji visual, it's a visual, visual shabda. Guru said, "Eda da mandir mil jave house. Imagine a diamond-studded house. Moti da mandir baniya hove. When you walk in, the smell is like better than the haze rubbish things that you plug in nowadays. The smell is next level. But Guruji, what does Guruji do? The mata dekha poola visare tera chetana avena. Maharaj agla dende onu. Har bine jiyo jal bal jao. Guru says agya hai. So Guru make you visualize how you remove your avguna. That's a bad asa rakhni pe mainu ghar idan de chahide a, mandir sone idan de. Guru says agla inu. And you need naam hirde ch vasa na. Then the next one, Guruji says, that's har bina jiyo bal jal bal jao. That's what that my soul is burnt, separated from Waheguru. But if you look at this, if the floor of the palace was mosaic of diamonds, and if heavenly beauties, their face with emeralds try to entice me, even that Guruji says, "Utthe mohni mukmani so hai." Kana bahut soni hove. Dunya, what they're running after? People running after houses, they're running after women, they're running after jewels and riches. Guru says, "Main dekh gaya na, main mat dekh bhoola visare. Tera chetana avena." Maharaj ne ag lati internally. First make it big, then kills it. Here, if I was born as a Siddh huma, Siddh lai rid akha aun. So I've got magical, mystical powers now. So hun dunya vich, some people do part karde a, and they do things, what they want? ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਟੂ ਪਾਰਟ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਦੈਮ ਖਰਾਬ। I heard this Singh, he saying that ਉਹਨੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਇਹ ਉਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੈ, ਲੱਤਾਂ ਭੰਨ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ। he did it in ਅਰਦਾਸ he did that in ਅਰਦਾਸ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਸੋ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਈਵਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਸਿੱਧੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ 'ਤੇ ਨਾ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰੀਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਦੂ ਟੂਣਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ। ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਿੱਧ ਬਣ ਜਾਵਾਂ, ਰਿੱਧ ਆਖਾਂ ਆਉ ਗੁਪਤ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਹੋਈ ਬੈਸਾਂ, ਈਵਨ ਮੈਂ ਇਨਵਿਜ਼ੀਬਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਵਾਂ, ਅਗਰ ਗੁਪਤ ਫਰਮ ਹੇਅਰ ਅਗਰ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ over there, ਐਨ ਲੋਕ ਰੱਖੇ ਭਾਓ ਸਾਰੇ ਡਰਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ don't say nothing to that ਬੰਦਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਸਾਰਾ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ। That's what we want, we want them to stay scared of me, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੱਤ ਦੇਖ ਭੂਲਾਂ ਵਿਸਰੈ ਤੇਰਾ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਆਵੇ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਾ ਦਿਖਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਂ ਵਿਸਰ ਜਾਵੇ। And then finally, if I was to become an emperor, ਸੁਲਤਾਨ ਹੋਵਾਂ ਮੇਲ ਲਸ਼ਕਰ ਆਰਮੀਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ, ਆਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਆਰਮੀ, ਫੌਜਾਂ ਬਣ ਜਾਣ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਐਂਡ ਤਖਤ ਬੈਠਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਈ ਡੂ ਮਾਈ ਹੁਕਮ ਹਾਸਲ ਕਰੀ ਬੈਠਾ ਨਾਨਕਾ ਸਭ ਵਾ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਕਮ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੰਨਣ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਐਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਆ, ਡਿਸਟਰੋਏ ਇਟ ਆਲ। ਮੱਤ ਦੇਖ ਭੂਲਾ ਵੀ ਸਿਰੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਆਵਣਾ। Now here is visual ਸ਼ਬਦ, it's very visual, ਹੈ ਨਾ। It's about us visualizing in our life, what do you want? ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਸ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੱਖੀਓ, we visualized it. You know what we've done? It's in our brain here, it's visual. It's like we know what we want. We want in my life, I want this, I want that car, I want this house, I want this type of person to marry, I want this, I want my kids to do this and all that. ਸਾਰਾ visualize ਕੀਤਾ ਆ। ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਕਮ ਹੋਣਾ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ, ਬਸ can happen anyway, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਸ ਰੱਖੀਓ ਪਰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਹੋਵੇ। And if it isn't like that, what do we do? If it isn't like what we wanted, what do we do? ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਾਠ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਅੱਜ, ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੁਣ, ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨੀ। That's what we do, ਨਾ। Have you heard a lot of ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਆ, they say ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁੱਖ ਸੁਖੀ ਸੀਗੀ or something like that, ਨਾ। You know what that means? ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਸੁੱਖ ਸੁਖੀ ਹੋਗਾ, what does that mean? ਉਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਆ? ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਲਾਤਾ ਸੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਤੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਆਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਰੂੰਗੇ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਪਾਠ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ। ਜੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਇਹ ਮੰਗਦਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ, ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਭਗਤੀ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ। ਇਨ ਅਦਰ ਵਰਡਸ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਲਾਤੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਤੇ, if you give me it, I'll do this thing. If you don't give me it, then we quit. It's even, no? What difference does it make? That's our community. ਬਹੁਤ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੀ। We do conditions on ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, ਫਿਰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਭ ਕੋ ਕੀਨੋ ਮੀਤ, ਤੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਨਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਭ ਕੋ, ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਰੀਡ ਦੇ ਲਈ, for our greed we make him our friend. And you know what the ਸ਼ਬਦ says? ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ still ਮੁਕਤ ਪਦਾਰਥ ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ, the ones for their greed they make ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ their friend. So ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਛੋਟਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ in our representation system in here. ਜਿਹੜਾ representation ਕੀਤਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਮੈਂ come over here for a second, sort this out. And then after that, oh, you're not going to sort it, it's all right, I won't go Gurdwara then, no? ਇਹ ਕੀ ਆ? What does that mean? And then look at this ਸ਼ਬਦ, ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, in ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ, you could do a religion just on ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ, you know that, ਹੈ ਨਾ। If all Maharaj gave the panth to Sukhmani Sahib, Sukhmani Sahib is unbelievable Bani, you know that. ਬਹੁਤ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨਾ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੈ just in Sukhmani Sahib. But look, Guru says, ਮਿਥਿਆ ਨਾਹੀ ਰਸਨਾ ਪਰਸ. Look at these systems. ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਜੀਵ ਦਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਨਾ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ the tongue that doesn't touch falsehood ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਮਨ ਮੈਂ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਨਿਰੰਜਨ ਦਰਸ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਆ। Now look, darshan's visual and thing you speak. Mithya is jeeb. Now Guru mixed it. He didn't say change the jeeb to this. He said ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਆ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਲੋ ਚਲਾ ਹੈ। You want ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ, instead of ਮਾੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜੀਵ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਰੱਖਿਓ ਆ ਨਾ। ਪਰ ਤ੍ਰਿਆ ਰੂਪ ਨਾ ਪੇਖੈ ਨੇਤਰ, ਸਾਧ ਕੀ ਟਹਿਲ ਸੰਤ ਸੰਗ ਹੇਤ। Now look at that. That's visual there. ਪਰ ਤ੍ਰਿਆ ਰੂਪ, ਇੱਕ ਐਸੇ ਔਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ like that. ਪਰ ਤੇਰਾ ਰੂਪ ਨਾ ਪੇਖੇ ਨੇਤਰ, ਕਿਸੇ opposite gender, you don't look at them in a bad way, But Guru says, instead of that, ਸਾਧਾਂ ਦੀ ਟਹਿਲ ਕਰ. You do the, ਸਾਧ ਕੀ ਟਹਿਲ ਸੰਤ ਸੰਗ ਹੇਤ. ਸਤ ਸੰਗਤ ਨਾਲ, ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰ. Instead of that, that's emotional, that's kinesthetic. We're saying replace your visual one with the kinesthetic one, Look, Guruji is mixing everything. Yeah. Karan na sune kahu ki ninda. That's listening, auditory, Kanna naal nindya nahi sunni. Sab te jane aapas ko manda. That's emotional. So your emotion should be, I'm the worst. I'm the worst emotionally. That's kinesthetic, Look, Gur Prasad Bhikhya par hare. Guru di kirpa de naal ਇਹ ਵਿਖਿਆ ਜਿਸ poison that's inside of us ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਦੂਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ. ਮਨ ਕੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ, look at this, ਮਨ ਕੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਮਨ ਤੇ ਟਰੈ. Guru called that in the ਅੰਦਰਲੀ ਚੀਜ਼ that comes up, smell. He called it bashana. We talked about, so we store certain things as smell. Guru called that's durgand. He says ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ, it smells bad. In this Shabbat, in the Sukh Sahib, Guruji says, "Pay mukh avat tan ka durgand." ਜਿਹੜੇ Guru calls Sangat, because ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੁਖ ਤੋਂ ਦੁਰਗੰਧ ਆਉਂਦੀ, smell, because smell ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ, But Guruji not necessarily talking physical. He's saying ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੁਖ ਤੋਂ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ ਇੰਦਰੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਆ, it's all ਦੁਰਗੰਧ, ਗੰਧ ਆ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ, it's all gandh. So Guru saying make that clean. ਮਨ ਕੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਮਨ ਤੇ ਟਰੈ. that ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਕਿੱਲ ਆ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ. ਪੁਰਾਤਨ ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, I don't know how much we've got it now, What the Sikh used to do, the ਜਿਹੜੇ feeling ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ, internally, if that feeling isn't aligned to Guru, if it's not aligned to Guru, they can kill it. You as Sikh can do it ਜੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੇ. What you can do when ਉਹ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ that it wants to do something bad, the Sikh can kill it inside. It doesn't get to the indri. ਇੰਦਰੀਆਂ 'ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼. They stop it. And ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਵਾਰਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਸ ਹੁਣ ਸਦਕੇ ਤੇਨਾਂ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਬਰਜ ਰਹਾਇਆ. ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਅੰਦਰ ਮਾਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਸਿੱਖ. ਤਾਂ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰਦਾਸ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਦਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਬਰਜ ਰਹਾਇਆ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰੋਕ ਕੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਸਿੱਟ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸਿੱਖ, ਮਾਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. And this is what they say, ਮਨ ਕੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਮਨ ਤੇ ਟਰੈ, ਇੰਦਰੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਪੰਜ ਦੋਖ ਤੇ ਰਹਿਤ, ਨਾਨਕ ਕੋਟ ਮਦੇ ਕੋ ਐਸਾ ਪਰ. So sometimes we ask ourselves, see how we're going to beat these 5 evils. ਪੰਜਾਂ ਦੂਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਤਣਾ ਹੈ. It's not like we just say, oh, I'm going to sit here and sit my eyes closed. ਉਹ ਜਿੱਤਣਾ ਉਹ ਆ when ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ, they kill it. ਸਿੱਖ ਮਾਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੀ. They don't let it get to the eyes, they don't let it go to the ears, they don't let it go to their ਜੀਭ, So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਦਰਲੀ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ, it kills it in a very different way. NLP ਨਾਲੋਂ, NLP ਨਾਲੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਹੋਰ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ. And so I'm just going to finish off now, we only got a few minutes. So Guruji calls the world true and false. Why? Sometimes Gurbani says everything is true, and sometimes it says that everything is false. And what we've learned today, why is this the case? So when ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸੱਚੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਖੰਡ, ਸੱਚੇ ਬ੍ਰਹਿਮੰਡ, ਸੱਚੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਲੋ, ਸੱਚੇ ਆਕਾਰ, ਸੱਚੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਕਰਨ, ਸਰਬ ਵਿਚਾਰ, ਸੱਚਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਅਮਰ, ਸੱਚਾ ਦੀਵਾਨ, ਸੱਚਾ ਹੁਕਮ, ਸੱਚਾ ਫਰਮਾਨ, ਸੱਚਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਕਰਮ, ਸੱਚਾ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ. ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੱਚ ਆ. Then on the other side, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕੂੜ ਰਾਜਾ, ਕੂੜ ਪਰਜਾ, ਕੂੜ ਸਭ ਸੰਸਾਰ, ਕੂੜ ਮੰਡਪ, ਕੂੜ ਮਾੜੀ, ਕੂੜ ਬੈਸਨਹਾਰ. Why? Why is one true and why is one false? Guru says all false, and then says all true. It can't be both, So what is it? Dunya sach hai ya jhuthi hai? These are philosophical questions for us. Is the world true or is it false? Sorry, did I just go backwards? Is the world true or is it false? We're going to have another answer here this week. Is the world true or is it false? So the whole topic, what was it about today? Topic ਕੀ ਸੀ? NLP's what? Representational system, right? ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੂੜ ਆ। ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਹਰਲਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਵਸਦੇ ਆ ਅੰਦਰ, ਉਹ ਸੱਚ ਆ ਸਾਰਾ, ਸੋ ਟਰੂ। ਪਰ ਅੰਦਰਲਾ ਫਾਲਸ ਆ, ਇਨਸਾਈਡ ਫਾਲਸ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਇਟਸ ਟਰੂ। ਜਦੋਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਖਿੱਚ ਲਿਆ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਡਸਨਟ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਇਨ ਦ ਐਨੀਮਲ, ਐਂਡ ਇਟਸ ਡੈਡ, ਇਟਸ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ਡ ਦੈਨ। ਈਵਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਜੋਤ ਵੀ ਸੇਮ ਆ ਨਾ। when we pass away, what happens to us? When we pass away, what happens? Go on, someone tell me process. Tell me the process. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ? How does it happen? How does it happen? How do we die? These streams are going to be really boring, you know. How do we die? Give me the process. What's the process of how we die? Palla ki hunda, first thing that happens, what happens? No, so what happens before that? Huh? Swas stops. What happens before that? Tusi guru de sikhya. You've been to funerals, hai na? Funerals vich baani kehdi padhi jandi a? ਹੈਂ ਰਾਮਕਲੀ ਸਾਧ ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਰਾਮਕਲੀ ਸਾਧਾ ਕੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ? ਸਦੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ। ਫਸਟ ਨਾਂ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ। First thing that's going to happen before you die, before any swas gets messed up, before your body goes kharab, is ਉਹਨੂੰ ਲਿਆ ਸਦੜਾ। Your name gets called, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਨਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਆ। ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਸੱਦਿਆ, ਦੈਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋਣੀ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ, ਉਹ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਉਦੋਂ। ਫਿਰ the thing that was going to happen about how you got to go, that happens then, ਹੈ ਨਾ। so that's true, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਉਹ ਸੱਚ ਆ, ਉਹ ਸੱਚ ਫਰਮਾਨ ਆ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ, ਤਾਂ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਤਾਂ ਸੱਚ ਹੁਕਮ, ਸੱਚ ਸਦੜਾ ਦਾ is। ਸੋ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਲੈਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੀ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਦੈਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਤਮਾ is going to go, ਹੈ ਨਾ। Now, the final thing, how am I storing my happiness and sadness? Do you have a more clear idea how you're storing it? Or was that all a waste of time? Have you got a bit of a better idea how you're storing storing it? Tusi kidda store kar rahe hain? Is it stored negatively for a good reason? Can it be changed? So these little things you can think about. We're not going to answer it now. But when you think of the following, how are these represented to you? What does life mean to you? How have you stored life internally? You see, we don't think about these things. We never really thought about it properly. What's life? Life kia? What is it? How have we stored it? What's life? You know, I asked someone once, like, I said, when you wake up in the morning, why do you wake up? And he goes to me, he goes, I don't know. Because I don't know why I wake up. He goes, you asked me a really complicated question. That he didn't know why he wakes up in the morning. We don't know why we're waking up. Well, life ki hai thode liye? Have you represented life? What asa mansa ki hai? What aspiration have you got? Ki lena tusi life to? Kidan? See, if you think about it, it's bahut galat store kita hai sara. It's not gurmat anusar nahi hai wo. You know, our life should be Guruji. Jis tarah tusi saah dinde ha, main bahut khush ha. You know, Maharaj tusi mainu job ditta hai na, main bahut happy ha. ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਆ। ਯਾਨੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਮਨ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਦੁੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੁੱਖ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਦਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਇੰਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਆ। ਲਾਡ ਲਡਾਵ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਖਿਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਲਾਈਕ ਵੀ ਪਲੇ ਲਿਟਲ ਚਿਲਡਰਨ, the parents look after them, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ that's how he looks after us, ਹੈ ਨਾ। how do we think about death? ਕਬੀਰ ਜਿਸ ਮਰਨੇ ਤੇ ਜਗ ਡਰੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਆਨੰਦ। ਕਬੀਰ ਦੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਆਨੰਦ ਸੀ। ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਰੀਅਲੀ ਹੈਪੀ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਆਈ ਡਾਈ ਵਨ ਡੇ ਮੈਨ। ਉਹ ਰੱਬ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣਾ, ਉਦੋਂ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ, ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਸਾਰਾ। ਹੀ ਗੋਟ ਰੀਅਲੀ ਹੈਪੀ। ਵੀ ਥਿੰਕ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਇਸ, ਅੱਜ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਮੌਤ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ, ਹਾਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ 5-6, ਹੈ ਨਾ। ਇਹ ਨਾਮ, ਵਾਟਸ ਨਾਮ ਮੀਨ? ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਬਣਾ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਲਓ, 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਕਰ ਲਏ, ਵਾਹ better than 95% of the Sangat here. ਨਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਆ? ਵਾਟਸ ਨਾਮ? ਇਨ ਆਰ ਵਿਜ਼ੂਅਲਾਈਜ਼ੇਸ਼ਨ, what we stored it as. and even Guruji, Waheguru, you know, even last week, Sada representation, Waheguru, that should have changed immensely last week. Should have been ridiculous, say, Waheguru, you know, us Waheguru ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਜਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜਾ Waheguru ਦਾ ਅੰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. He's got no end, he's got no start, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਇਹ ਕੀੜੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੱਕ ਲਓ, then he's going to take us, ਹੈ ਨਾ. And he's just asking us to have a little temporary experience here. But he says, Mera, you know, my naam chhaddiyo na, don't forget, main kithe haan. Guru says, tere andar baitha haan main, hai na. Why Guru saying that? So all the way we represent all of those things. Last week we did this, we ain't enough time to do that now, na. But here, what we've learnt. But pain can become happiness depending on perspective. Pehli week vich assi kita siga, how you look at Dukh, how you look at Sukh. Sukh becomes Dukh, Dukh becomes Sukh. Very becomes Mittar becomes very. Guru says sona, oh mitti ban jandi hai, mitti da sona bhi ban sakda hai. It's how we look at it. That's our perspective. The other thing is, when we have a wider Sikhi worldview, pain reduces. Like last week what we did was, ਜਦੋਂ Sikhi broad ਹੋ ਗਈ, ਫਿਰ then our pain becomes shorter. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ, when we look at life, stop looking at our life like we wake up in the morning, we do go to work, ਕੰਮ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, and then weekend ਤੇ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ we watch Netflix, ਹੈ ਨਾ. That's not life, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ life ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. Life is Sikhi, is broad. ਇਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਦੂਤਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਦਰ 'ਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਐਵਰੀ ਡੇ, ਸੋਹਿਲਾ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਪ ਅਸਲੀ ਕੀ ਆ, ਵਾਟ ਡਜ਼ ਜਪ ਮੀਨ. ਜਾਪ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਜਾਪ ਅਸੀਂ 1000 ਵਾਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਉਸਤਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਵੀ ਦੂ ਸਵਈਏ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਖੰਡ ਆ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਖੰਡ ਨੂੰ ਦੂਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਦਸ ਓਲ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਪਖੰਡ. ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਪਖੰਡ ਕੀ ਸੀ? ਫਿਰ ਜਿਨ ਪ੍ਰੇਮ ਕੀਓ ਤਿਨ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਪਾਇਓ. ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੌਪੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੂੰ, ਫਿਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰੱਖ ਲਓ. ਵੀ ਦੂ ਆਨੰਦ ਕੀ ਆ? We do understand Anand, what it really is. Our life, yeah. This is our life. Our life isn't like doing little things. As you kapde sone le le, shoes sone le le, gaddiyan soniyan le laiyan. As you kar le. This is nonsense. This is bakwas. That's not. It shingar thoda sade. Sat santokh daya dharm shingar banavo. Guruji कहते shingar इदां दे बना, proper ones, ना. So we learn that when we have a wide Sikhi, the pain bit we're looking at what life, it's just nothing. It don't matter that much, you know. We have our own changeable internal representation system of how we view the world. That's what we've done today. How we represent everything internally, it's a changeable. It is not a permanent nahi hega. It took a long time to go through that. Hale, that's just really basic NLP, that is, you know. I'm not going to go over it in more detail next week. That's enough. We can reference what we've learnt today for what we need to do moving forward, है ना. So ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਕੇ then ਫਿਰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸੁੱਖ ਹਾਸਨ ਕਰਨਾ. So ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ ਵੀ please ਜੋ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, what we understand of ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ now, what we understand ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਦਰ represent ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਛੋਟਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆ. ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਸਮਰੱਥ ਵੱਡਾ, ਮੇਰੀ ਮੱਤ ਥੋੜੀ ਰਾਮ. ਮੱਤ ਸਾਡੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਥੋੜੀ ਆ, nothing, you don't know nothing. So ਇਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਜਾਪ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ. ਸੋ ਕਉ ਟਲ ਗੁਰ ਸੇਵੀਐ, ਅਨਿਸ